morning, dear students. Welcome to English e-learning session. In this previous session, we saw about Aditya's visit to his native place with the narrator and how they met Nagin uncle, and we know about Nagin uncle. Then Nagin uncle told about who Sasanka Sanyal was. Today we are going to see about the remaining part of the lesson. Are you ready? Now I am going to read the next passage. Listen to me carefully. I noticed a sudden change in Aditya's expression and I asked him the reason for it. Without answering me, he asked Nagin uncle who the gentleman was and what he did. Nagin uncle replied, Sasanka Sanyal. What can be done? He leads a cursed life, gone crazy, I think, but has not forgotten any incident of the past. Sold his lands to get his only daughter married. He lost his wife and only son last year. Since then, he is somewhat changed. Not really normal. Where does he stay? He stays with a friend of his father's, Jogesh Kabiraj. Sasanka comes here, has tea and biscuits, and always remembers to pay, having an acute sense of self-respect. But how long this will remain like this, I don't know. Let's see the meaning. The narrator noticed a sudden change in Aditya's expression and asked him the reason for it. Aditya asked Nagin uncle about the gentleman who was sitting at the corner table previously. Nagin uncle replied that his name was Sasanka Sanyal. He led a cursed life. He thought that he had gone crazy. Crazy means that is insane. But he had not forgotten any past incident. He sold his land to get his only daughter married. He lost his wife and only son last year. Since then, he was totally changed because of lonely life and not really normal. Then Aditya asked Nagin uncle where he stayed. He replied that Sasanka Sanyal stayed with a friend of his father's whose name was Jogesh Kabiraj. Sanyal had tea and biscuits in Nagin's tea shop, but he never failed to pay for it. This shows that he had a sense of self-respect. Having paid our bill and ascertained the location of Jogesh Kabiraj's house, we got into the car. Aditya was at the wheel. He expressed the wish to visit his house. So, do you want to see your house after all? I said. It has become essential to do so, Aditya replied. His nerves seemed overwrought for some reason. We soon reached the house, which was surrounded by high walls. Even from the ruins, one could easily imagine how grand it must have been once upon a time. We entered the building, climbed up the stairs, and reached the attic on the second floor of the house. This was my favorite room, said Aditya. The attic has always been a favorite with the children. It is in the attic that the child seems to be in a world of his own. Let's see the next passage. A portion of a wall of the attic had crumbled down, and through the window that had been created, we could see the sky, the fields, a part of the rice mill, the spire of the old temple. In the whole house, the attic had probably been the worst hit by wind and weather. The floor was strewn with twigs and straw and pigeon droppings. Among other things, there was a broken cricket bat, the remains of an armchair, and a wooden packing case. Aditya got on top of the packing case and pushed his hand inside the ventilator, thus upsetting a sparrow's nest, a part of which fell to the ground. However, he heaved a sigh of relief when he had got what he had been looking for. When I asked him what it was, he said, "You will get to know very soon." Dear children, let's see the meaning. After paying their bill, they ascertained means confirmed the location of Jogesh Kabiraj's house. Then they got into the car Aditya was driving. He expressed his wish to visit his ancestral house. Then they reached the house, which was surrounded by high walls. Even from the ruins, that is a destruction, one could easily imagine how grand it must have been once upon a time. Such a big house. Then they entered the building, climbed up the stairs, and reached the attic on the second floor of the house. Aditya said, "This was my favorite room. The attic has always been a favorite with the children. It is in the attic that the child seems to be in a world of its own." What's the meaning? The attic had been a favorite place for the children. Because it was in the attic, the children seemed to be in a world of their own. Then the narrator explained the condition of the attic. The attic was damaged by the strong winds and weather. A portion of a wall of the attic had crumbled. Crumbled means broken. Crumbled down, broken down. Through the created window, one could see the sky, the fields, a part of the rice mill, the tall structure of the old temple. In the whole house, the attic had probably been the worst hit by wind and the weather. The floor was strewn with. Strewn means covered with untidily scattered things. Scattered means spread over. So the floor was strewn with twigs, small twigs, sticks, small sticks, straw and pigeon droppings. Among other things, there was a broken cricket bat, the remains of an armchair, and a wooden packing case. Wooden packing case, that means a suitcase which is made of wood. Then Aditya got on top of the packing case and searched inside the ventilator. He heaved a sigh of relief when he had got what he had been looking for in the attic. Looking for means searching for. It was a silver medal belonging to Sasanka Sanyal. He took it from him 29 years ago and lied that it was lost. Now he wanted to return it to him. We next went to a jeweler's to find out the weight of the article. The jeweler remarked that it was an antique. Our next stop was the house of Jogesh Kabiraj. Though I was a little curious, I didn't ask Aditya anything. We entered the house and went to the room where Sasanka Sanyal stayed. Sasanka uncle was busy reciting verses from Tagore. When he had finished, Aditya asked, "May we come in?" He turned and faced us. "No one visits me," he said in an unperturbed manner. "Would you mind if we come in?" "Come in." Except for a charpai, there was nothing else to sit on, so we remained standing. "Do you remember Aditya Narayan Chaudhary?" Aditya asked him. "Of course," said the gentleman. The spoilt child of affluent parents, was a fairly good student but could never beat me. He was extremely jealous of me and he used to tell lies. "I know," said Aditya. He then took out a packet from his pocket and handing it over to him and said, "This is for you from Aditya." "What is it?" he asked. "Money." "Money? How much money?" 150 rupees. "He has said that he will be happy if you accept it." Shall I laugh or cry? Aditya has given me money? Why this sudden generosity? Man does change with time. Perhaps Aditya is not the same Aditya as before. A change? I got the prize. He could not bear it. He took it from me to show his father and never returned it to me. Said that there was a hole in his pocket and it had fallen through it. "This is the price of the medal. It is yours." Sasanka Sanyal was amazed. He stared at Aditya and said, "The price of the medal? That could not be more than 5 rupees. It was a silver medal. Silver is now 30 times costlier than before." Really, I had no news of that, but Sasanka uncle looked at the 15 10-rupee notes in his hand and then looked at Aditya. There was a completely new expression on his face. He said, "Aditya, this smacks too much of charity, doesn't it?" We remained silent, staring intently at Aditya. Sasanka Sanyal smiled and said, I had recognized you at Nagin uncle's tea shop by that mole on your right cheek. I could see you had not recognized me. So I recited the same poem that I had recited on the prize giving day on purpose so that you may remember. Then, when you came to visit me, I couldn't help venting my anger on you. You have done the right thing. Your grievances are absolutely justified. But I will be happy if you accept the money, said Aditya. Sasanka Sanya shook his head and said, No, money will soon be spent. I would have preferred to have the medal if it were possible. I would have forgotten that unpleasant incident of my childhood if I could get the medal back. So, the medal that had been hidden in the attic for 29 long years was eventually restored to its owner. Sriman Sashanka Sanyal Special Prize for Recitation 1948 was still clearly engraved on it. Dear children, let's see the meaning. Then Aditya and the narrator went to the jeweler to find out the weight of the medal. Both of them went to the jewelry shop to find out the weight of the silver medal. The jeweler remarked that it was an antique. Antique means very old and therefore unusual and valuable. Then they entered Jogesh Kabira's house and went to the room where Sasanka Sanyal stayed. When they entered into his room, he was busy reciting verses from Tagore. Verses means poems from Tagore. Mr. Sanyal told Aditya that in school days Aditya was jealous of him. He took his silver medal to show his father, but he never returned it. Who never returned it? Aditya. He lied that it had fallen from the hole in his pocket. Aditya felt sorry for what he did. He wished to give him 150 rupees as the price for the antique, that is for that medal, because he liked that medal very much. But Sanyal wanted only his last glory back. He didn't want any charity from Aditya. That is, he didn't receive any money from Aditya. So Aditya gave him the medal on which was engraved, which was written, Sriman Sasanka Sanyal Special Prize for Recitation, 1948.